All right, hello. Welcome to Yesterlore. I'm Grimm's lawyer, and I am basically on time Grimm's lawyer tonight. We are going to continue with the awntyrs of Arthure, which are more like the awntyrs of Ganur and Gawain at terne wathelyne, the tarn waddling that no longer exists as a tarn. So if you want to know more about the setting of this place near Inglewood, or I guess in the Inglewood in Cumbria, you can look at the last video, the recording of which is on YouTube. And last time, where we last left our heroes, our heroes being Gainor, who we usually call Guinevere nowadays, and Gawain, who's Sir Gawain, they went, along with Arthur's whole entourage, to the Inglewood in what is now Cumbria, and they're on a hunting trip, but Gainor and Gawain are just kind of chilling under a tree, hanging out, while Arthur's and his other men are going on doing their hunting thing. And then it gets all dark. Hello, big nasty truck. So Gainor and Gawain are hanging out under the tree, and then it gets all dark. And then we get a ghost who appears. And the ghost turns out to be... oh, that's okay. Big nasty truck, that's totally fine. The ghost turns out to be Gainor's mother. And she is, much like the three dead kings in Three Dead Kings, is warning Guinevere to be virtuous, to not be a bad queen, and she emphasizes not giving into vanity or adultery, which, if people know some of the stories of Guinevere, is a little bit portentous, I guess, for her. And then before the ghostly ex-queen goes away, Sir Gawain decides that it's a good idea to say, hey, before you leave, can you give us a little prophecy real quick? And last time she started giving a prophecy. She said that Arthur is too covetous. And she said, look at France as an example. So that's where we left off, and she's going to go on a little bit more, the dead queen. Last time we had 3 dead kings, now we have 1 dead queen, but she's basically doing the same song and dance as they did, with her ghostly warnings for the future. So, let's continue on. She's still sort of in the middle of her prophecy here. She says, "France hath ye freely with your ficht wonnen, Freil and his folke, Fay arthe levid, Bretagne and Bourgogne, all to your bowen, and all the duceperes of France with your din David. Gien, my Grete, the where was begonnen, there are no lordes on live in that land levid. Yet shall the rich Romans with your be auronen, and with the round table the rent is bereaved. Then shall a Tiber untrue timber jotena. Get thee, Sir Gawain, turn thee to Tuscain, for ye shall lays Bretagne with a knicht kene." Okay, so what she said, so last time she said, look to France for an example. Here, she says, okay, so Arthur and ye, which basically means like Arthur, his whole posse, including her addressees, Gawain and Gainor here, you've done well in France. You've basically won. Frollo is sort of a French leader who was defeated by Arthur. That's Freil here. So you've taken Brittany, you've taken Burgundy. They're all bowing before you. But what she says is that yet shall the rich Romans with you, against you, be overrun. And it's not the Romans that are going to be overrun. Well, it is going to be the Romans that are going to be overrun. But then we'll hear what she has to say after this. She says, "Get thee, Sir Gawain, turn thee to Tuscany, for you shall lose Britain with a knight keen." From a keen knight. Some knight is going to come and beat you, and you're going to lose Britain. So you're going to want to go to Tuscany. So let's see what happens next. She says, "This knecht shall keenly croise the crown, and that Carlel shall that comely be crowned as king. That sege shall be seized at a season. That Mitche Barret and Bal to Bretagne shall bring. It shall in Tuscan be told of the treason, and ye shall in turn ayen for the tiding. There shall the round table lace the renown, beside Ramsay full rod at a reading. In Dorsetshire shall thee the dochtest of all. Get thee Sir Gawain, the boldest of Bretagne, in a slacke thou shall be slain, sich fairliest shall fall." Okay, so some knight is going to best you, she said in the last stanza. So here we're learning more about the knight. "This knecht shall keenly croise the crown." So this knight is going to be crowned as king. So that kind of sucks for you, Gawain. If you ever wanted to, like, rule land, it's not going to happen. In Tuscany, you're going to find out about this treason. Well, she just told him to go to Tuscany, but she's going to be like, you're going to be in Tuscany when you're going to find this out. Again, she's giving a prophecy, so I guess she knows all these little details. And she says, thus, the Round Table is going to lose its renown. All of you are going to die near Ramsey. She even says where? In Dorsetshire. And so she says, "Get thee, Sir Gawain, the boldest Briton, because you're going to be slain in a slacke, in sort of a hollow place." Yeah, that's basically the gist of this stanza. So let's go on. "Such fairliest shall fall, without any fable, upon Cornwall cost with a knecht kene, Sir Arthure the honest, avenant and able. He shall be wounded, ye wis, wathelyne wene, and all the real rota of the round table. They shall indeed on a die, the dochty bedene, surpriset with a sujet, he beres hit in sable. With a sauter ingreled of silver full shene, he beres it of sable sothly to sigh. In a rich Arthur's halle, the barne plies at the balle, that outtry shall yo alle, delfully that die. Okay. So, what's happened? Let me just check that everything's still visible on the thing. When I'm like looking at the actual page for long enough, I get self-conscious about OBS, but everything looks fine. Of course, in the chat, always let me know if you can't see anything or if there's something you can't see that you think you should be seeing. Okay, so what we got? Sorry, I completely just derailed my entire thought process with this. Okay, so she just said that Gawain's gonna die. That's awesome for no one, pretty much. And she says that in Cornwall, there's going to be, like, awesome stuff happening. And by awesome, I mean, like, awe-causing, not great. Full of awe would you be if you beheld these sort of epic battles that she's foretelling here. And she says Arthur will be wounded, and it's gonna be awful, basically. And all the royals of the Round Table are going to be ousted. All the valiant knights will die, and it'll be a very sad day. Delphily that day. The outre shall you all Delphily that day. Okay, so here we're finally going to get her saying her farewell in this stanza. And I love how casually she starts it, because she just basically spelled their doom. Which, to be fair, Gawain asked for that. He asked for a prophecy. But here's what she has to say after just basically saying, you're all gonna die here in this place. So beware. Have a god die, Kainurin Gawain the god. I have no longer Tolma tidingus to tell. Imod walkon mi way. Thor this wilde wode. In me warningsted in war for to wella. For a him that richt Weasley Rosa and the rest on the road. Thank on the danger, on the dol that he in that dwell. Fed folk for me saket at violent the foda, and menge me with matins and massam in melle. Masses are medicines to us that balabides. Us denka a massa as sweta as any spisa that ever ye yeta. With a grisly Greta, the ghosta away, Cletus. Okay, so, after giving her portentous prophecy, she says, have a good day. Have a good day. Have good day. Guinevere and Gawain, the good. I have no longer time. I have no longer Tolma tidings to tell. I have no time to tell you anymore. I must walk on my way through this wild wood. So, she's like, okay, gotta go back to being a sad ghost. Have a good day. Die. Yeah, day is pronounced die here. So yeah, have a good day, but also have a good die. Yeah, she just told them that when they're gonna die. So yeah, super great way to seg out of her little prophecy there. Is just like, bye. Have a good day. Gonna go back to my sad existence as a ghost. And then she reminds them, as we saw last time, I forgot to mention this in our recap at the beginning tonight, last time what Ganor said was like, hey, how can we help you since you're like a sad, depressed, Lucifer resembling ghost? How can we help your soul, go to heaven? And she was like, just do some masses for me. Do 30, I think it's like 30 prayers is what she said. 30 masses, I mean. So lots of masses, and she says masses are like medicine for us that are like sort of in the between realm of sort of ghostly purgatory almost. So yeah, and then she goes, yeah, and yeah, to us, a mass seems as sweet as any spice that you ever eat. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. And yes, it looks like yeet there. It's yeta. It's just a weird spelling of eta there. But yeah, then the grizzly, with a grizzly great, a grizzly groan, the ghost glides away. Okay, so, exit ghost. Alright, let's read the next stanza. So, let me make sure I have my thing set up here. I just accidentally opened another window I don't want open here. I've lost where this window is. I have too many windows open right now. That's my problem. Oh, sorry, my computer makes a weird noise when it's like stuck in things. And this next stanza, as per usual, starts sort of with an echo of the prior stanza. We've seen that quite a bit in this poem. So, with a grisly grey to the ghost a wag leadus, and goes with groaning sore thor the gravest grain. The wind is the weather's the welkin unheedus. That's the computer talking to you? Yes. It's telling me no. I can't do that, sorry. Yeah, with a grisly grey to the ghost away glides, and goes with groaning sore thorch the gravest grain. The wind is the weather's the welkin unheedus, then uncloset the clothes the sun con shane. The king his bugle has blowen, and on the bent breedes, his fare folk in the frith, they flocken bedene, and Altharia wrote to the queen reades. She sighs him the selcuthus that they had their sane. The wees of the weather for wondered they were. Prince proudest in pala, dame gainur and alla, went to Rondeles Halla, to the supera. Okay, so the ghost sings away. Singing you a song, yeah, that's my computer song. So the grisly ghost glides away with a groaning, going back into the green groves, the Gravis Cadena, and then sort of re-enter Arthur and his crew with his bugle, and they all sort of reconvene, and they are like, whoa, because Genor and Gawain tell them the story of what happened, the whole ghost encounter, and they're like, whoa. And then they're like, okay, let's go home. They all return to Rondeles Hall, which I'm assuming is in Carlisle, because that's where they are. Near the Inglewood, the Inglewood. So they're going home to supper. Cool. They're like, wow, huge, huge story, Guinevere. We just hunted for a bit. Let's go home now. Okay. The king to supper is set, served in sala, under a cellar of silke daintly dicht, with all worship and welle in a with the walle, brides broden and braden bankers bricht. There kom in a soteler with a cymbal, a laddie lufsum of lotte leden al knicht, ho rakes up in a race before the real, and halsed sir Arthur wendly on the hicht. Ho sad to the sovereign longest in weder, mon makelus of micht, herre comes an errant knicht, do him reason and richt for the manhead. Okay. So, so they go home, or I guess back to Carlisle, have dinner in their hall. It's all nice, lovely meal, probably maybe something that they hunted. They're all seated, and then we get a soteler, a musician comes in with a cymbal, and she's a lady, and she, like, with her cymbal, and sorry, I can't make a cymbal sound. Maybe one day when I'm more high-tech, I can get, like, sound effects that I can click on, but for now, just, she, hits her cymbal, and, she comes in and salutes him, and she says, here comes an errant knight. Man, my herre kommer an errant knight. Do him reason and richt for the manhead. Do him well. Like, listen to what he has to say for your, well, literally manhead is manhood. But, like, if you're a good king, you're going to listen to him and treat him well. So she's sort of, like, announcing that this guy has come and asking Arthur to treat him fairly. Okay, so let's see what happens. Let's see if that is what comes to pass. Okay, the mon in his mantle sitteth at his meta. In pal pyre to pai, prodly picht, trofelet and traverste, with treu loves and trait. the tasses were of topaz, that were thereto ticht. He glyphid up with his eigen, that great were on great, with his beveren bird, on that board bricht. He was the sovereignest of all sitting in sate, that ever Sigge has seen with his eie sicht. King Cronus in Keith Carpus hirtille, welcome worthily wicht. He shall have risen and richt. Whethen is the comely knecht, if hit bethy wille. Okay, so we get a description of the man coming in. He sits at his mantle, sits at his meal. Meat does not necessarily, like, at this time, meat does not have to be, like, from an animal. It just is your meal that you happen to be eating. So he comes in, he sits down, and he's the sovereignest of all sitting in state. He's, like, the most regaled. He's wearing all these things. We get a description. He's tassels of topaz that he's wearing. He's all decked out. And Arthur looks at the lady who was talking. Big Nasty Truck says, meat blushing emoji. Okay. Yeah. He looks at the lady that's there. King Krona in Keith Carpus Hirtilla. Oh wait, no, where was I? I got lost here. Oh yeah, he glyphed up in his eye that grey were and great with his bever and bird on the borde break. Bord means like a lady. It's actually related to bird, but it means just like girl. So he's looking at the bright lady who's with him, with this sort of decked out knight dude who came in. And then he says, welcome, worthy wicht. And wicht has a very wide meaning. Wicht means just any, well, really it means anything. It's just another word for thing. But usually it's a living thing of some kind. Any sort of being. A lot of times it could just be person. But it can be other sort of lights. Nowadays in modern English, especially in sort of like fantasy type literature, you see white here more as like some kind of ghostly figure or supernatural being. And then a lot of neo-pagans use white to mean specifically sort of spirits of non-human variety. But here, in this context, he's basically saying, dude, welcome worthy dude. A little bit higher register probably, welcome worthy person. He shall have reason and right. Like the lady with the symbol asked, do him reason right? Well, he shall have reason and right. Whethen is the comely knecht. Where's he from? Whence does he come? If it be his will to say, like, if you will answer, where are you from? All right, well, let's find out. Where is he from? Let's see. Ho was the worthiest wicht that any we welde wolle. So she was the worthiest. The one, like, he's basically talking to her at this point. Her gide was glorious and gay and a grace grene. Her belle was of blunket, with beardes full bode. Browded with brende gold and buckled full bene. Her fax in finne perre was fretted in folde, contrafellet and kelle coloured with klene, full klene. With a krone, craftly, all of klene golde, her kerchiefs were curious with many proude prene. Her perre was prized with prise men of micht, bricht beardes and bolde, had enoch to beholde, and that freely to folde on the henden knecht. Okay, so what we got instead of an answer yet is just more description of this lady. She was the worthiest person, the worthiest wight, again, of that anyone had seen. It's beautiful, joyous looking. We get her sort of garb, what she's wearing, golden buttons and all that kind of stuff. Very vivid description of what she's wearing. And then we get Bricht, Birdes and Bolde, hade noch to beholde, of that frede to folde, and on the Hände knicht. Hände means polite, chivalrous, or accommodating. And I believe it's related to the word hand. So, what happens next? The knicht in his colours was armed full klere, so we're going to get more description of him too. With his comely crest klere to behold, his brain on his basnet borneste full bene, with a border a bocht all of brende golde. Him miles were milke wheat, en clawet full klene, his horse tapped on that ilke, as true men may tolde. His shelde on his shoulder of silver so shene, with bare heades of blake browed full bolde. His horses in fine sandal was trapped to the helle, and in his chevron beforne stode as an unicorn, as sharp as a thorn, an antlers of steel. Okay, so we get more description of what he's wearing, the knight. He's like fully clothed in armor. Old English harder. Says North Sea poet. Well, it's not Old English is the thing. It's Middle English. Which means there's, as you can see, some French words in this, if you recognize them. But, yeah, so he's fully armored. Why would he be fully armored at dinner? This is kind of strange, but okay. And he's in his colors. He's all decked out, as we said before. Yes, this is Middle English, North Sea poet. That's what we're reading. French words, yeah, those Normans came in and gave the English a bunch of French words to use. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't read anything in Old English in yesterlore for a few weeks now. I mean, not counting the 2 weeks ago when we were working on the Old English translation. Our readings have been Middle English lately. We may go back to Old English stuff. I would enjoy doing that at some point, but yeah. You mean you don't wear your armor when you're eating meals? Did you learn nothing from the Red Wedding? I learned plenty from the Red Wedding, and I will not... And what I learned is to not go to any kind of event like that where I would need to wear armor by meal. But yes. Okay, so he's all decked out, as we said before, but not just decked out, he's armed, which is interesting. And we find out that even his horse in fin sandal was trapped to the heel. His horse is decked out, and is wearing a sword even. Unicorn-like, stood as a unicorn, all sharp as a thorn. Not of steel. Yeah. So, he's fully armed, as is his horse. Why is his horse at dinner? Don't ask. It's important that the horse is there. Okay, let's continue. In stele he was stuffed that storn upon stede. All of sternes of goldet that stansed was on straye. His gloves, his gamisons glowed as a glade, with gryness of rebbe, that grive Ben Guy. On his shane... Big Nasty Shucks his holy shit. Sword horse. Yeah, this horse has a sword even. His gloves, his gamisons glowed as a glade, with gryness of rebbe, that grive Ben Guy. On his shane shinbodes, that sharp were to shred, his polliness with pellidodes were powdered to pie, with a lance on loft that lovely conlade, a freke on a freson him forward in fie. The freson was afraid for dread of that fare, for he was seldom wanted to say the tablet fleuret, Sichigamen negle sache never are. Big Nasty Truck says, "Oh, you want the horse excluded from dinner? Hateful. I expected better of you. You know what? You're right. I should do better. The horse does deserve to be at the table." Yeah, correct. I'm wrong. You're right. So, this is fun. So, as we learn, the horse is also armed, and we get some more description. But the knight leads the lady on the horse. Thank you for the apology. Yeah, I apologize. I will do better. So they get on the horse, and the horse was scared, because it wasn't used to seeing a table that was so, like, exciting. I guess the tables that this horse is used to are less extravagant compared to Arthur's. So the horse kind of freaks out, gets in a sort of a flurry of dismay. The fleuret here is the fleur de lis, I think, is what that's referencing here. Yeah. Fresson is a Frisian horse. That's the kind of horse it is. So Arthur's going to have something to say about this whole situation. He says, okay, Arthur asked on hicht herrend him alle, what woldest thou way if hit bithy willa? Tell me, what thou seches and whether thou shall, and why thou storno on this stede stonde so stille. He wived up his visor fro his ventale, with a knichtni continence he carpes him tille. Whether thou be kaiser or king, her I they bekale, for to finde me a freke to ficht with me fille. Fichting to freist I funded fra homme. Then said the king, upon hicht, if thou be Curtis knecht, late and lenge al nicht, and tell me the nomen. Okay, so Arthur says, if you will, again, he's being very polite, tell me, what is it that you seek? Tell me what thou seches, and whither thou shall, and where you're from, where you're going to, what's your mission here, what are you up to, and why are you just sitting on your horse at this feast? And he wived up his visor. He lifts his visor, because, again, the knight is all decked out, so he lifts his visor, and he says, with a knightly countenance, he carpes him tille, Alright, sorry. One moment. Alright, let's go back. So he lifts his visor, and he says, well, everybody hateful about this horse. Yeah. I think Arthur's problem isn't so much that the horse is present, but he's like, why are you standing so still? Like, why are you just sitting there on your horse? Get off of your horse and chill and eat, and maybe the horse can too, maybe at the horsey table. I don't know if there's a horsey table at this feast, but maybe. In any case, the knight lifts his visor, and he speaks, and he says, whether thou be king or Kaiser. Kaiser just means emperor. It's referencing Caesar, but the word for Caesar just becomes a word for emperor in most European languages. Modern English is probably one of the few that does not have this meaning anymore for Caesar, but Caesar just meant emperor. I guess we still poetically use Caesar for emperor, but it literally is the word for emperor in a lot of European languages still. And in Middle English at this point, it just means emperor. Whether thou be Caesar or king, here I thee call. I call upon you. For to find me a freke to ficht. A freke is just a word for a soldier, a dude. Find me a dude to fight. It does not mean freak in the modern sense of like a weirdo. Don't find me a weirdo to fight. Just find me a dude to fight. Fight with my fill. And he says, "Fighting to freiste funded from home." I left home looking for a fight. Why? So he just is going out looking for a fight, and that's why he's still all but armored in his on his horse, who is also but armored, and he's just kind of crashing the party here. He's not exactly crashing because someone announced him, but I still feel like if you come in fully armored with an armored horse to a party, even if you are introduced at the door, it's still crashing, in my opinion. Big Nasty Trick says, find me a freak, though. He says, find me a freak to fight. Yes. Freak just means, like, a dude. Alright. And the king sits up and says, okay, if you're a courteous knight, stay all night and tell me your name. So he's like, okay, you can stay, just tell me your name. And here's what the guy says. He says, "Mi name is Sir Galeron, without any gile, the greatest of Galway, of Graves and Gillis, of Connaught, of Cunningham, and of Kildare, of Lomond, of Lossex, of Loyan Hillis. Thou hast won him in Werra with a wrong wheel, and given him to Sir Gawain, that me heart grilles. For he shall wring his honda and worry the wheel, ere he weld him I wis, again min unwilles. Be all the wealth of the world, he shall him never welde. Wheel I the head of my bearer, but if he win him in Werra, with a shell and a sparrow on a fire feld." Okay, so my name's Galeron. So his name is Galeron. And he's from Galway. Galloway, not Galway. It looks kind of like Galway. Not Galway. It's Galloway, which is sort of in southwestern Scotland. So if they're in sort of Carlisle, northwestern England, Galloway is sort of like, just like little northwestish. But it's in what is now Scotland, is where Galloway is. So he's from Galloway, and he names some places in Scotland. And he brings up Sir Gawain. What does he say about Sir Gawain? He says, "Thou hast won him in Werra with a wrong wheel." So he says, you're in charge of Galloway right now. Like, you, Arthur, have control over it. But it was wrong. You've wrongly taken them. Wrongly won them in war with a wrong wile. You did it. It was wily. It's a deception. And given it to Sir Gawain. So Sir Gawain at this point owns Galloway as a knight of King Arthur. But Galeron of Galloway is saying, nope, that was illegitimate. I want it back. He's angry about it. It thought to me, heart grilles. It grills my heart. I'm on fire with anger and rage. Rightly so, if he's telling the truth. So he's basically saying, I want to fight and get my land back. So he says, I promise to fight any man who is going to stand against me in my claim to Galloway, because it was wrongly taken by you and given to Sir Gawain. Okay, so he continues. He's not done talking. He says, I will fight on a fell thirto I make faith with any freka upon folda. Yeah, he's going to fight anyone that freely is born. To lese such a lordship may wold think life, and each leda upon liva wold lach me to scorn. We are in the wode went to walk on our wife. Okay, so now we have a different speaker here. To hunt at the hertis with honda and with horna. We are in our gamen. We have no gama graith. But yet thou shalt be matched by midday to morn. For thee I redet thee, think rest al knecht. Gawain, Graf of Val, ledes him out of the hall. into a pavilion of pala that Prodi was picked. Okay, so he finishes saying, like, yeah, I'm going to find anyone who stands in my way. And what we get is Arthur replying here. He says, he tries to kind of, doesn't really change the subject because he does get back to it, but he's like, we've just been hunting around recently. That's what we saw before. They've been busy. So because of this, because we've just sort of been hunting and we just got back from that and now we're sort of feasting, we don't have anyone who's like ready to fight you right now. We have no Gomegraith. We have no like sort of battle ready guy. Goma is just an old way to say guy. Sometimes you'll see it groma with an R, and that's where the word groom comes from. But it comes from Old English guma, which has no R. The R just kind of comes in for no, I don't want to say no reason, but it doesn't come from anywhere. It just kind of shows up. Goma is sort of the older form there. So we've been in our game. We've been hunting. We don't have any guys ready to fight you, but yet thou shalt be matched by midday tomorrow, he says. So sleep over, and then Gawain brings him out to a pavilion that's been all made up and ready for a guest, and brings him to somewhere where he can rest. Sorry, I just need some water for my throat. Getting dry with all this excitement. So, we get a little description of this pavilion where he's staying. All right. Picht was it Brody with purple and pala, bearded broaden above, in brand gold bricht. In with was a chapel, a chamber a hall, a chimney with charcoal, to chauffas the knicht. His stead was stabled and led to the stall. I hertly he had in hatches on hicht. Sitting they bride, upa board, and clothes they calla, sanapes and salers semla to sicht. Torches and brochetes and standards between. Thus they served that knicht on his worthily wicht, with rich dainties dicht in silver so sheen. Okay. Sorry. If I seem like I'm zoning out or getting sleepy, while I am tired, I'm just getting into the rhythm of it. I really enjoy the sound of this poem, and it's really easy for me to just kind of get sucked in to the poem itself. Sort of like playing an instrument almost, like you just kind of get into the zone there. It's just, I'm a big fan of the meter and the rhyme and the alliteration in this poem. It's part of why I chose it. Okay, so he leads him out to the pavilion, which is proudly set up with beautiful purple and pale cloths, gold, embroidered sort of hangings. It's a beautiful chamber, and they stabled his horse. The horse is important. His horse is stabled and brought to a stall. It gets some hay to eat. Yum. And they bring out a bed and everything like that. We get sort of just a description of how they're very hospitably treating a guest, which is something that you want to do. If you have a guest, even if they come all fully armed, if they're being polite, you're gonna be hospitable and house them. Especially if you're king, you have no excuse not to, because that's just asking for a curse usually. If you're mistreating a guest, if you're a king, because we all know you can afford to give them some room and board here. So the knight and his lady, their nice little hotel stay is what we get here. So in Silver Society they serve it of the best. Yeah, here we get their reward. They're getting served with vernages in veres and cupes full clean, and thusir gawente gold glades horgest, with rich dainties endured in dishes bedena. When Thariel Renke was gone to his rest, the king to consul has called his knechte Sokena. Lokinoa, lordes, or los be not lost, ho shall encontre with the knecht. Kestis jo between. Then said Gawain the god, shall it not grave? Her mi honda I jo hicht, I will ficht with the knecht, in defense of me richt, Lord be your leve. Okay, so, they feed them their fancy little dinner, and when he goes to bed, and Sir Gawain is the one who's kind of being their little, what's the word I'm looking for? Not concierge, I guess, sort of like that. He's sort of being their butler almost, like making sure they have their beds and are tucked in and stuff. And so once they are, when the royal soldier has gone to bed, the king, so Arthur calls his council of all of his knights, and he's like, okay, look now. that is look now. Look now, Lord. Look now, lords. We have a situation. What are we gonna do? He says, our laws be not lost. And I don't think loza here is lose. I think it's more related to like loud. It has to do with their sort of like renown. Our renown should not be lost. We don't want to look bad. We don't want our whole reputation being ruined by this guy who comes in saying we wrongfully took his land. So what are we going to do? Who shall encounter with the knight? Who's going to fight him? Kestis jo between it. Choose between yourselves. And Sir Gawain the Good says, shall it not grave? Don't worry. Worry not. There's no reason to be worried. I promise with my hand. I say to you, I'm going to fight this guy and defend my right, my land right, if you let me, by your leave. And what does Arthur say? He says, I leve well, quoth the king, the latis are licht. But I nolde for no lordship saith I leve lorn. Let go, quoth Sir Gawain, God stand with the richt. If I skape, skathlesse, it were a folk scorn. In the dying of the die, the dochti were dicht, and herden matens and masse early on morn. Be that on Plumpton land a palace was picht, where never frek upon folde had fochten before. They set in listes believe on the loch land. Fresh soppes de mine, they brought to Sir Gawain, for the comfort his brine, the king garred command. Okay. So, the king's like, yeah, I give you leave. You're allowed. You can fight him. Sure. I believe you. I believe your promise. You're quick. You're quick about it. But he says, but he null for no lordship saith thee leave alone. I don't want you to lose your life for any lordship. This is a very sweet moment. Arthur's like, it's not worth it to me if you die over this sort of land right. So just before, Arthur was saying like, okay, we don't want to like ruin our reputation. But here, as soon as Sir Gawain is like, but I'll fight him and it's fine. He's like, but no though. I don't want you to see here. It's very sweet. There are a lot of sweet moments between Arthur and Gawain in a lot of poems actually. And this is one of them. So, but Sir Gawain says, let go. Worry not. God will stand with the right. So, if he escapes, if he escapes unscathed, it would be full scorn. Yeah. If we don't fight him and he just gets to go away after having sort of like made this accusation, that's gonna be bad. Very bad. So, in the daying of the day, what does that mean in the daying of the day? This is, we would say dawning now. Dawn and day are actually related to each other. They both come from Old English die. Dawn comes from dawn, which is daying. It's just the sort of gerund form-ish of verb. To day, to become day, hence to dawn. Okay. Where were we? Oh yeah, and they have mass in the morning. Can't forget the matins in the mass, especially given the first half of the poem where Gednor's mom was like, "Hey, do some masses." We'll circle back to those masses near the end of the poem, but here they do mass in the morning because it's what you do, and then the sort of place was set up. The Plumpton land was set up where never a freka upon Folda had fought in before. It had never been a sort of like place where people had fought before. It's not sort of an existing battle arena, but they basically set it up so that people could joust. Because that's what you do in these high medieval contests like this. So the king commanded everything to be set up so that Gawain the Galaron could proceed. So the king commanded Kindly the heirless son of Kent courteously in the castle tak cape to the knecht with Richard Dantes or die he dinned in his tent. After buskes him in a brenne that burnished was bricht, sitting to Wainur whistly he went. He laughed in her warda his worthly wicht. After either in he hoor, horses they hent, and at the listes on the land, lordly donelicht, alle both this twa burnes, balde of blood. The king's chair is set above on a chastelet, money galliard gret for Gawain the gold. Okay. So, the Earl of Kent's son. Who is that? Not a character that we have to care about particularly, but the point is he's supposed to be basically like the, what do you call it? Not page. He's supposed to like take care of Gawain when he's fighting. So he's like, hey, take care of Gawain. Okay. And then he goes away with Guinevere, Winewood. And they left to their little spot where they're going to sit. On either in high hour horses they hint. So they get their horses. And the king child is set. Yeah, he sits in his chair. And they're about to get ready to fight. So, Gawain and Galaron Gordon her stedes, allen glitter and gold guy was hergere. The Lord disbelieve him, to list ladies. With money sergeant of massa, as was the manera. The bornes brought the blankest that the sea the blades. Either frek upon folder has fastened his spear. Shaftest in she the wold that they shindre in shades. So jolly lay, this gentle justice on wear. Shaftest they shindre in sheldes so shene. On sithin with brondes brecht, rich miles they richt, theren contrast the knicht with Gawain on grene. Okay. So they get on there, they get their horses ready. Their horses are all in gold and look awesome, as they must. In a jousting match, it's super important that the horses are all decked out. And then the lords get ready. They're accompanied by their... Oh, that's the word I was looking for. Sergeant of Massa is what you call, I guess, what the Earl of Kent's son is supposed to be doing. For Gawain. And they get ready, and they joust. And we get some description of that. Either man upon fold, he fastened a spear, shafts, she the wood, they shindere and sheds. They come together. So jollily these gentle jousted. So these nobles jousted, and it was jolly. I guess by jolly they mean it looked beautiful, because this is still in a time period when Jolie was very recently borrowed from French. Jolie means beautiful. Or wait, is that a semantic shift that happens later, actually? I might be wrong about that. I'm actually not remembering off the top of my head what jolie means in Old French. Might be the other way around. Might be the English has the older meaning. Okay, no, it's of sort of uncertain etymology. Interesting that it might come from or be influenced by Old Norse Yol. That's Yule. Yule and like Yola or Yol in Old English and Yule, etc. all come from a root for just like festivities in Proto-Germanic. So it could have had just sort of like this idea of it was festive. That's what jolie meant. Anyways, in any case, they jousted, and it was a sight to behold. And we have Gawain in Grena. Gawain has been associated with Grena a lot in this poem, is what I'm realizing. I think part of it just might be like G's. Grena is a good G word. But we had Gawain and the Grena a lot in the earlier part of the poem when he's with Ganor under the tree. The reason I never really thought about this, but yeah, he's wearing green here. That's sort of the color of his outfit. And he's on a green field. It's just striking me because of one of the poems that we're going to read is Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, and the knight in that story is green. So it's interesting that in this poem he is green quite a bit. I'm just finding it interesting, that's all. It's just a stray observation here. Okay, I think we can do one more stanza before we're done for the night. Gawain was gaily grathered in Grena. It's wearing green. With his griffons of gold engreled full guy. Triffeled with tranis and true love is between on a starten stede his strekes on stry. That offer in his tourneying he talkes in terne. Hui drawest thou theon drech and makes sich dry. He swapped in at the swirra with a sword again, that graved Sir Gawain to his death die. The dintis of that dochty were dochtis bedene, 50 miles and more. The sword swapped in twa. The canelbone also and cleft his shelde shane. Okay, so he's wearing green and he has golden griffins engraved on his outfit. And then they're sort of on their horses, they're continuing to joust, and then he says, well, not he, the other one says, Hitalcus and Tana, the other knight, like Galeron says, "We drawest o theon drechen make sich dry." Why are you drawing back? Like he apparently Gawain is like kind of being reserved in his attacks, and also sich dry. It's like all in disarray. And then he gets a sword and he slices him on the neck, which that graved Sir Gawain to his death day. So Sir Gawain's going to be this injury is going to affect him for the rest of his day, but he's not dead. But the brave knight, he made 50 blows. Wait, no, not 50 blows. 50 males. That's male. His blows are up here. The dinces of that docty were doctis bedane. He just kind of slashes at Gawain a bunch, which is pretty upsetting. And it's 50 miles and more this one swapped into. He like cuts off the little chainmail, or like the little rings from the chainmail, really. And he breaks his shield in two. Okay, so it's not looking good for Sir Gawain here. Galeron is kind of winning. So that is actually where we're going to leave off. We got to 520 today. We will pick up next week with basically in the middle of this intense fight here. So it's a good place to stop. There's some drama and a cliffhanger a little bit. So yeah, next week, same time, we will be reading the continuation of this poem. We are, I want to say, almost done. I think next time we'll finish. We might even finish before the end, and we might be able to do some other stuff. I'll try to make that, I'll try to announce it earlier on, like maybe a couple days in advance. Next week's stream, because I think there's a good chance that we will do more than just this poem. I kind of want to do just sort of like a talk through, or oh, hi Knox Taylor, first time chat. This was fun. I understood very little, but I liked listening. I'm glad it's fun to listen to. It's just really fun sounding poem too. But yeah, that's also why I've been sort of stopping after each stanza and trying to do a little bit of a recap of what just happened. But yeah, next time we will finish this, and there might be some time for something else. And I'm thinking maybe something like a something more meta, like talking about Middle English or talking about Old English, since there are more Old English things I want to talk about, or linguistics or anything like that. If I had more of a way to access me, a Q&A would be fun, but I don't. I don't think I have the ability to do community posts on YouTube yet, so I'm not big enough yet for that. But thanks for everyone who is here. So next week, more of this. Tomorrow is our third project stream. So that is from noon to 2 Pacific. You can see when it is on your time zone on Twitch. If you just go to my schedule, it'll be in your time zone. It'll say what time it will be. And we are going to be continuing my project that I'm doing, sort of collaborating with North Sea Poet. I am sort of adapting, translating his Northumbrian rune poems into Old English alliterative verse. So if you want to see some more Old English stuff, and some Old English poetry, and some creative work, instead of just sort of reading an old thing, writing an old thing, that will be going on tomorrow, from noon to 2 p.m. Pacific time. Again, you can check on Twitch to see when that will be in your time. The upload for this video, if you missed it, or you are watching in the future on YouTube, you'll be on YouTube already and you'll already know how to find my channel. But yeah, feel free to leave questions and comments about the reading on YouTube. If you're watching this asynchronously, I still look at the comments, even if it's a stream from like weeks and weeks and weeks ago. That's perfectly fine. And I will see you all in the future. Have a great rest of whatever time zone you're in, night, morning, whatever it is, and goodbye.